How we doing, everybody? I'm Gregor. We're back with another track breakdown. This one titled "Same Vibe." It is techno, and I love it. If you have not listened, go ahead and do so. A link will be in the description. We got a lot to get into, so let's get into it. We're going to start with sound design. First and foremost, we have several bass elements, and we will go over each one of those, starting with our main bass. Let's take a listen to what it sounds like. Nothing much to the pattern, but the design, it has several things to go over. So you might have guessed that there was a sine wave involved, but the body of this bass actually is made up with this saw. Let's take a listen to what that sounds like just by itself. You can see that's where the meatiness comes from, and then here is the sine wave. And together. So we can see our envelope 1 here is controlling our cutoff, and we have this envelope 2, very small envelope that is just serving to modify our coarse pitch on oscillator B, and also it controls the master tuning, and that is what gives it that knocking sound. We can hear before and after, I guess. We'll isolate oscillator B. Let's bypass all destinations. Here's what it sounds like without the envelope. You can definitely tell it's a saw there, but we add this, and it just gives it that little bit of character, I'd say. We have some distortion going on into a multi-band compressor and a high-end EQ to control that multi-band. Let's go into our first extra bass element. This is our rising bass that we hear at the start of every 16 bars. Let's just take a listen to that solo. Very mean sounding bass. Let's take a look at the design. Okay, so our body's made up by a wide saw at -2 octaves, and we have unison up to 6. Randomness is actually all the way up, which is what we want to do when we're working with a wide bass. Gives it more character, I'd say. We'll take a listen to this oscillator solo. So that is very clearly the body, and now we're here oscillator B, which is a 7 unison sub-E saw wave at zero at just the bass octaves. And I imagine this is giving us our tone. I didn't realize it was giving that much tone. Let's hear it all together again. I can hear it now. I wouldn't have guessed that's what it sounded like, to be honest. But yeah, we'll go into our envelopes. We have envelope 1, a long decay on this one. Again, a little release, which you want to add on bass elements. Very small attack, and that is controlling our cutoff for the filter of A and B. And again, we're using a similar method to the main bass here. Really small envelope 2, and I'm assuming that's controlling our master tuning, which you see here. We also have an LFO controlling our fill cutoff, or the cutoff of this filter. So it giving it that rising effect just allows us to hear more of the bass as it's being played. Go into, and we just have a multi-band compressor on that. That'll do it for the rising bass. Now, its counterpart, which I called this morphing bass, we will go over now. So I meant for this to be a similar sound to the rising bass. It is just acting like a counterpart. I didn't want to use the same exact sound every 8 bars, so this is what we went with. Let's go ahead and take a listen to this soloed. Now again, you can see how that is the counterpart to our rising bass. Right? And then we got the morphing. Just a little nuanced, a little different. keeps the track fresh. Like you kind of have an idea of what's coming there, but you don't exactly know. So that's nice. So the body of this sound is being made up by the ICANN has kick wave. It is under the digitals category. You can find that here. Very good for making mean bass sounds. And I believe I took away the fundamental from both oscillators here. Yeah, left the randomness on it. I guess that's just how I was feeling. Just depends on how it sounds, really. Let's take a listen to oscillator B by itself. Oh, that's right. So as you can see here, we are actually automating the unison. So hence the morphing. That's where it got its name. We're also taking it from not stereo to stereo, as you can see here. So it's getting wider as it plays. Just giving this bass a ton of character. We also automate a gate to give it the counter pattern to the first bass, the rising bass. Let's take a listen to oscillator A now by itself. Oh man, I really like how that one sounds. So that is just very much for the tone. Got a gentle filter, I'd say, on this one, MG Low 6, allowing in a lot more of the highs. Envelope 1, nothing too crazy, bit of release on it. And envelope 2 is automating our noise level, and it's also automating the weight position of ICANN has kick. So very, very quick envelope, which is typically what I do with envelope 2. LFO1, as we can see here, is controlling quite a lot. So as the bass plays, the cutoff is being raised more and more. The bass is getting louder with these two oscillator levels. The detune is increasing on the oscillator A, which is what gives it that what sounds like pitch bend. I assumed it was pitch bend at first, but it is definitely just detune modulation, and it has to be controlling something else. Let's find out. Some effects. Yeah, we have a phaser on it as well, giving it a bit of movement, and it's controlling the amount of distortion that we put on it, which I never typically use sinefold, which is wild. We did a lot with this bass, and of course a multi-band compressor. LFO2 is controlling what? LFO2 is controlling the effects, the filter frequency. Yeah, okay. This is what's giving it that movement. Very slight, but it is enough. We can listen to what it sounds like without the phaser. Just, it's still cool, right? But this just gives it a lot of character. This is where the beat actually started, was with these two basses. Before I had anything else, I just had the main bass pattern and these two counterparts of bass elements, and it really just makes it a mean drop, and I like that. Moving on to what I'm calling the groove stab. We hear this used a couple different ways throughout the track. Let's take a listen to it. It has a lot. It really gives off melodic techno vibes. Let's take a listen. So meaty sounding, but with that little delay, making it exist a little longer and acts as a bit of an effect, if you will. Adds to the groove of the track as well, which is why I gave it the name Groove Stab. Two just initial oscillators here, just kept the default sine waves, both unison 7, one octave apart. So let's take a listen with the lowest first. obviously that is the meat, and now the oscillator B, giving it the tone. Now our envelope 1 is of course controlling the filter cutoff, MG low 18, and kind of a longer decay on this one, 6.9 milliseconds, nice for the attack, and that should do it. Again, here we go, envelope 2, short envelope, giving us I believe master tuning. Yeah, again, master tuning modulation, and that does it for the envelopes. We don't even utilize LFOs here. We have a ton of effects. Okay, so we're cutting off the low end. We're distorting it, diode 2, bring the mix down on that. We are putting our ping pong delay before the compression, and that's what gives it that cool effect. Of course, multi-band compressor, hyper, everything at 10%, the detune, the size, and the mix, and a Hall reverb on it. And that will do it for that. We'll see, let's take a look at how else it's utilized. We use it at the end of these 8 bars when we have the high pass going, and gives it a really cool effect going into the next drop. Very nice. We also use it, so I would consider this the A section. We have a little B section here. And let's take a listen. We play it here. It's the same effect as before, just with the bass still included. I believe we have it here as well. Hold on. There's that. And here's the only time in the track where we actually use it as a sort of melody. I like that little lick, just changing it up in the B section. I found that part got annoying if it was in both, so I just kept it in the second half. And yeah, that is all the times that we use that. In this B section, I'm going to call it, the main feature is this Masano type stab that, shout out Sam Smyers, dude makes amazing content. He recreates a lot of Serum sounds that we'll hear in releases, and this one is from Anna by Masano. Mine slightly differs. It's not quite the same, but the fundamentals are there. Let's take a look at this now. Here is an overview. We will take a listen to what it sounds like solo. Okay. Then we got this. They're very nice. And the little lick to send us into this B section to begin with. So, first time ever making, I wanted melodic techno elements. This is not a melodic techno track. I just wanted elements. And this bass stab and the previous stab are, I think, indicative of that. Let's dive into the design here. Again, if you want to learn how to make anything, go to Sam Smyers' channel. I'm going to throw this in where I'm talking about the Masano stab. Since I mentioned him so much, here is Sam Smyers' YouTube channel. Go check him out. He has unbelievable content. He is the dude when it comes to this. I had no idea where to start to make one of these, so I turned to somebody who knows it a lot better than me. The body being this, not panned, the unison up to 7 saw wave in basic shapes at a -2 octaves, no randomness on it, level slightly up. Let's hear what that sounds like solo. I'm always surprised. That is very much the body. Now let's take a listen to oscillator A, which is an I Can Has Kick again at -1 octaves. Let's take a listen to that. Very much the tone versus the other stab, which the I Can Has Kick served as the body. Now it's serving as the tone. Let's take a look at the envelopes. We got slight release, slight decay. Not your typical decay shape here. I upped it a bit, and a very, very short attack, as it is an attacking sort of stab. Envelope 2, not what you've seen from me so far. Got a bit of sustain, bit of release, bit of decay. And that is controlling what? That is controlling the cutoff, actually. Envelope 1 is just purely for shaping the sound. LFO 1 doesn't do a whole lot. It adds to this pattern here. It makes this pattern rise, so to speak. And that is because LFO 1 is controlling the cutoff even more. We have a J60 noise on it, ever so slightly. Let's go into our effects. Now this is purely Sam Smyers. Bass cutoff. We gave a slight boost to some mid-range here. Multiband compressor, diode 2 with these settings. And a bit of hyper. Much more on the mix on this one. And into a hall reverb. And that will do it. That gives us our B section of the track. I didn't want it to be a melodic techno track, but I wanted a bit of a melodic techno section, and that's what we got. In the middle of this track, going into the final drop, one final bass element to go over here. And it is just giving, so I originally on the main bass had a bit of a filter cutoff automation. Just didn't sound what I was going for. So I made this instead. I'm calling it FM bass stab. Let's take a listen. It hardly plays in the track. You hear it every now and then, but it's just to give the main bass a little more of a character to it. Now, how do you create an FM bass? You throw a sine wave, throw it to -3, and FM it. FM from B, you drop the level all the way down, and you pick your FM shape. In this case, I went with another sine wave. And yeah, let's take a listen to that just by itself. Okay, that gives you most of the sound, and then we threw on the sub for a little extra color. Let's take a listen to that. There it is. Envelope 1 controlling the sound, pretty standard. Envelope 2, again, very short envelope here, controlling the coarse pitch and the master tuning, giving it that knocking feel. We will again do it before and after because I feel like you can really hear it on this one. Shoot. Shoot. Okay, well, all right, walk with me, talk with me here. So this is how you do it. Might as well, we're doing it live. You throw the envelope on the coarse tuning, you hit Shift, Alt, and click, and that will put it up to 1 octave. And if you want to do master tuning as well, that will give you a bit of knock, right? But I wanted a little more. So I throw envelope 2 here. I go global master tuning, and I throw this up to 19, which is equivalent to 1 octave. And we can hear that final result. And there we go. We have our sound. So again, without, right? Just pretty basic, and with. Just that little extra difference. Here's what our filter looks like, controlling all of our oscillators. And the only effects is a little bass boost, but the low end is, for the most part, cut off. And yeah, that will officially do it for all the bass elements. This was a very bass-heavy track, and I like it like that. All right, so we're going to stick with some sound design, as that is the mode we are in. Starting with the main melodic element that you're going to hear, and the first drop and the main drops, the first and the second, or sorry, first and the third, first and final. Simplified things a bit, huh? My goodness. So I made this pad. This is all me, and it's very simple. But it does its job, it does it well. It doesn't need to be much more than what it is. Unison, out the yin yang. we got 16 unison on both oscillators here. That's right, because what I did is, you're like, well, that's redundant. No. Okay. So what I did with these saw waves is a little trick I learned from Miss Alice Effie. She gives great advice in her content. I just recently discovered her. Man, she knows what she's talking about, and this is what I learned. You take, to give it even more of a stereo effect, which the unison is doing, we are panning it to the right. We're panning oscillator B to the right by 20. We're panning oscillator A to the left by 20. Now, that will not give you the effect you're going after until you mess with this phase. You also have to adjust the phase to the right or to the left. So oscillator B, we panned it to the right. It starts at 180, now it's at 205. Oscillator A starts at, again, 180, now it's at 150, where it should be at 155 if we wanted to make it identical, so we'll do that now. Act like it was that way to begin with. And yeah, that just gives it even more of a stereo effect. So let's do a before and after, I guess. So let's just take a listen to what oscillator B would be by itself. It will still be wide. Right. Still very wide, but I wanted more. So pan it to 205. This is just based off preference. You can do whatever you want. And let's combine that with oscillator A. I'm surrounded by the pad, which is exactly the vibe I was going for. And I like how that came out. Very basic sustained envelope 1, LFO 1, controlling our filter cutoff, giving it just a bit of movement, which is very welcomed. And a multi-band compressor, nothing crazy, very simple. We'll listen to the full pattern now. Nice. I like how that came out. Simple melody, simple pad, simple pattern, serves wonders in the track. We play it one octave lower, and then we pitch bend an octave higher for the second half of the drop. So I needed something to get us into the first drop, and I was taking a look at this Hyperpop pack from Splice, just dropped this week. We found this ARP here. We'll take a listen to it. Lot going on. Very hyper, some might say. How do you control that? Well, we threw gross speed on it. This is, I think, a big advantage of using FL Studio. You get something called gross beat, which has a lot of cool effects. The coolest probably being the half speed effect in the momentary section here of time. And this will drop it an octave, and it will play it, as you might have guessed, at half the speed. So we did that, and let's take a listen to what that sounds like. Okay, very nice. I utilize a bit of the hyper though. So to serve as the tension, I automate the gross beat, and we'll take a look at that. I do a lot actually. I automate the gross beat here, so it goes away and the melody gets more and more hyper going into the drop. And we'll take a listen to that. Okay, very nice. So, a couple things we did here. We have OTT on this, and I thought it sounded pretty cool if you took away all of the high from it. Let's take a look. I believe it's this one that we're messing with. You just drop this high gain, and it provided room for the vocals, which very much like how that came out, and I reintroduce it going into the drop. Another thing is the melody kind of starts off as slightly mono. We take it to full stereo just before the drop, and then bring it back to mono. And then finally, you might have heard the melody change up a bit at the end. That's because we put serum effects on it. The way you do this, you go noise, note latch, and then from there you can do little LFO gates by throwing an LFO on the level of the noise. Our effects are multi-band compressor and delay. It gives it that a little more character, a little more controlled, because as the melody name suggests, it is very hyper, and we control it just a bit going into the final drop. So let's listen to that. That's where we introduce the gate, and it bleeds over into the drop. Right, serving as a transitional piece and giving us an effect into the next drop. Very cool. We use that again, same melody, during the drop itself, every the fourth bar of every 8. That was worded terribly, forgive me. But yeah, let's take a listen to that. Very nice. And same thing, automating the high gain on the OTT gives it that cool effect, gives it a little more character. And same thing, automating, but in reverse this time, the second time it's played. That's right. And we also introduced the gate that second time, again giving it a little more character. You know what to expect, but it's slightly different. And I love this main drop, the main 2 drops so much, and I think that's a big reason why, because I introduced something in the first 8 bars, bring it back in the second 8 bars, but just slightly different, and it's very nice. Okay, we're going to take a look at this Wrath melody here, is what I'm calling it. Okay, so Splice, again, this week came out with an ominous pack hip-hop. I found this synth. Let's take a listen. It was close enough to our key that it wouldn't change the timbre too much, and I love the character of that synth. Don't really care for what it's playing. I love the character though. So as I typically do, I say, okay, that's pretty cool. Let's see what we can do with it. This is what I came up with. okay? When that was the first 8 bars, when we reintroduce it, we throw it in reverse. Now, how did we do that? Well, as the delay's still going, we got some serum effects on it. Some sausage to give it color first. And again, this is how we take advantage of serum effects and totally change the sample into our own. You activate the noise here, you throw a note latch on, and then you can mess with the gating. And this is the gate we went with. Every fourth at a rate of 1/4. And look at that, it's dancing. You don't have to know what it sounds like to know, this melody's gonna dance a little bit. Stupid, whatever. Anyway, this LFO is not controlling that. So we have a lot of effects here. That's right. Okay, so originally, what we have here is our own Edison recordings of what we came up with. So you'll see that this delay and this distortion is not active in the serum effects. It was active when I recorded, and that's what gave it the sound. So got this LFO here slower at 1/2, modulating a band pass distortion. I surprise myself with what I do sometimes. And modulating that mix as well. Very satisfying to watch here. I'm getting distracted. Anyways. And then as well, we have a delay ping pong before our compressor. And yeah, that's what gives it, that's what gives it all the character, really makes it our own sample, and then the delay makes it, gives it a cool effect. And top it off, we got a multi-band compressor and hyper. And yeah, that's what we did to make something that wasn't going to work into something that totally fits our track. Now, we have, there's a lot to go over in this one, man. Where is she? There she is. Miss Shantae Marie gave us some vocals this week. And we have this hook, Come to Mine, at A sharp minor. So when you hear this track, it sounds like a man. This is just her, pitch down. We'll take a listen to the original.
Same vibe, same late nights, always on your time. You call, then I sigh. You don't ever wanna come to mine.
She goes off here. It starts doing like, I don't really care for the rest of the sample. I really like that first part. I love her voice, one. And yeah, so I just took the wording from that first. I chopped off the come to mine, so it sounds like you never want to go. This is what, after pitching down and spreading out her vocals, this is what we got.
Same vibe, same late night, always on your time. You call, then I sigh. You don't ever wanna go.
So you can see how that cutting off the come to mind, it really sounds like ever want to go. Which gives us our hook, gives us something to sing during this drop. And when I added her voice, this is when I fell in love with the beat. It really wasn't, it was something. This is what I needed and I knew exactly what to do with the rest of the beat. All right, we can go into our processing. A lot going on. Syllabants first to take away her S sounds. Got a little fun little combination here of OTT into sugar, OTT, sugar, and OTT again. Sugar, if you do not know, is, I'm going to save. Hopefully it doesn't crash. Thank you. Sugar tends to crash my FL Studio, but is a very good saturation plugin. I use the same one, slightly different levels, the same preset, slightly different levels each time.
Same vibe.
Because it got kind of muddy when you pitched your voice down. So to clear it up, we went OTT, sugar, OTT, sugar, OTT. Probably a bit of overkill. We're still learning. That's fine. Cutting off the low end here. And we limit going into the room. You're going into the plate, I should say. And that is that. We're going to go over the drums at their fullest. And that is in the last drop, the final drop, the big drop. Let's take a listen. We got so many hats to choose from here. I'll solo this out for you guys. All right, so let's take a listen to our drums in full. Okay, starting with the hats. Again, we have a left and right hat here, and as you can see, different in a 2-bar pattern, we have different velocities for each, so it just changes it up enough so we're not hearing the same robotic sound over and over again. We have an accent hat. No, sorry, we have a sync hat here. Giving a bit of syncopation. Let's take a listen to just that. It changes up the rhythm. We also use it. Okay, sorry. So that is the sync hat, and then we have this accent hat here, which is actually serving as giving a bit of accent to the clap and snare. I was wondering why it was sounding different. That's it. Every second clap hit, we have this hat playing over top, and that gives us, again, just a bit of differentiation. This last drop is where we introduce, it's not where we introduce, but we have this, I didn't even bother naming it. We just have I usually call it a hype hat. When your beat's at the fullest, when the hype should be at the highest in a track, I typically introduce a third hat here, and that's what this is. Let's listen to it now. So the left and right hats are closed. This one is much more open. Again, automating those, or sorry, changing up those velocities so it isn't the same over and over again. And yeah, going into the ticks now. I always have some ticks. They're typically made up of closed hats. And this one is 3 different closed hats. Let's take a listen. I'm honestly only hearing 2. So that's the main one that you're hearing. That's right, because we have a tick hat that is just giving us a little more character to our hat patterns. You can hardly hear it. You could go without it, honestly. And then just switching it up, our main hats are playing at the key of the track, which is F, our main ticks are playing at the key of the track, and we have this one that's just playing at C every so often. Giving it, again, a bit more character. You know what's interesting? I usually automate the velocities of this main hat. I didn't this time. And I really think that's okay because this is techno. If this was tech house, that would not fly. For me, that would not fly. I don't think that's an oversight. I think I just left it. So yeah, to give a bit of satisfaction from that big buildup, we have this crash. Okay, and paired with this noise effect. Oh, it's in melodies. Wow. That is way louder than I thought it was going to be. Oh my goodness. Okay. Again, clap and snare, and we have this chant. I like to do like a shout kind of in the background. I have it playing once every 2 bars, and yeah. That's all it is. Just a little like paying homage to my trap beat making days a little bit. Ooh, what I haven't covered is arrangement. Now, this is something that's helped me out a lot. I'm simplifying my arrangements, and I'm kind of following a pattern, a formula, and it's working, and it's making me get beats out a lot quicker than I was in the past. The past being like 2 weeks ago. But truly, I am dumbing down the arrangements, and it is absolutely working for me. 16 bar intro into an 8 bar bridge, which leads into our first 16 bar drop, spaced out with another 8 bar bridge, leading us into our second drop, which is again our like B section, I'm calling it. That's our melodic section, I'd say, melodic techno section. And then before our big build, we have a 8 bar build. Before our big build, we have an 8 bar build. Before our big build, we have an 8 bar bridge. I actually extended that bridge to 16 bars here, just because I wanted a section with just the melody, the hyper melody, and just her voice. And then we have a 16 bar build which in this case is very intense, because I feel like this drop is so good. I wanted to build up a ton of tension, and I did that. Going into our last 16 bar drop and a 16 bar outro. And that is it. I'm keeping my drops to 16 bars. I'm keeping my bridges, with this one exception, to 8 bars. 16 bar intro, 16 bar outro, and that's it. You're done. Like, I'm done overcomplicating arrangements, and I feel like my tracks are feeling more complete and just flowing a ton better than they have in the past. Now, with all that being said, arrangement out of the way, let's end this video with one listen all the way through, full 16 bars of our main drop. All the elements we've covered are in this drop, and let's see if you can pick them out, except for the Masano stab. Contradicting myself. Anyway, Masano stab is not in here. Everything else is. Let's see if you can use your ears and pick them out, and let's vibe out together.
Same vibe. Same vibe. Same late night, always. On your time, you call. And outside, you don't ever wanna go. Same vibe, same vibe, same vibe, same vibe, same vibe.
Same vibe, baby. Yeah, so thank you for being here. If you learned anything, if you liked the video, if you don't like it, let me know. All feedback is welcome in the comments below. And yeah, full track up on SoundCloud. One of my favorite tracks I've ever made up until this point in my life. I like this one a lot. And there was a lot to go over, so I hope you gathered something from it. And yeah, that'll do it. I hope you all have a great day wherever you may be watching this. And I'll see y'all later. Thank you.